Hello artists, welcome to your second project video. In this project, we're going to learn about one of the principles of design, movement. Movement in art is the path that the viewer's eye takes throughout a work of art. Movement can be directed along lines, edges, shapes, and color. Lines, edges, shapes, and colors can be utilized by the artist to point the way through an artwork as a map for our eyes to follow. In this painting by Cézanne, for example, your eye tends to travel upwards in a triangle form. In this example of movement in art, the artist shows the movement of the wind throughout the shapes of paper. The lines of the figures and the lines of boiling clothing convey movement in art as well. To understand movement in art, we're going to take a look at the artwork made by artist Keith Haring. Keith Haring was a popular artist and activist who was part of the legendary New York art scene during the 1980s. He believed in making art accessible, and he used to draw with chalk on the subway walls and the sidewalks of New York. He would combine the appeal of cartoons with a distinct pop graffiti aesthetic centered on fluid, bold outlines against a dense, rhythmic overspread of imagery. Although his artwork were really colorful and animated, Haring tackled some hard-hitting and challenging subjects concerning people, not just in America but around the world. Haring used catchy slogans to quickly and effectively make his point. He was mostly famous for his campaigns anti-drugs. Keith Haring had a fun way of working which reflected the content of his work. He often listened to hip-hop music while he's working and painted rhythmic lines to express the movement and energy which is recognizable in so many of his works. For this project, all you're gonna need is a white paper, pencil, black marker, and colorful markers or color pencils or crayons. So gather them up and let's get ready to create. Before we start our project, let's practice a little bit on how to make these figures. It is actually very simple. Do you know how to do a stick person? If you do, then that's almost it. Let's start with one of our stick person the normal way we know how to do it. Great. Easy, right? Now, let's start giving our figures some movement. When you make angles like this, you make your figure look like it's moving its arms and legs. The angle of the line represents a joint of the human body, like elbows, knees, ankle, and wrist. It will make all the difference when adding movement to our figures. Try practicing different movements on your sketchbook. It helps if you try to imagine they are dancing. Another tip is to stand in front of the mirror and make movements with your own body and observe the placement of your body and your joints. When you have practiced with a couple of movements, then it's time to turn the stick people into Keith Haring figures. So get a marker so you can see your lines better. Then start with the top of the head, tracing around the line you already have. Most figures from Keith don't have a neck, so we will leave the circle open from the body. Next, you will trace outside all of the body parts you drew, following the angles you added. The arms usually connect at the bottom of the head, and like I said, our figure is not showing very much neck. Continue doing that until you have traced out and around the whole person. And voila! You have a Keith Haring. I know this is just a practice, but if you erase all of the lines of the inside and add more movement lines, then you're going to start to see how it looks a lot like Keith Haring's type of figures that he used to do. Let's start our project. Let's fold our paper in half first to get a better sense of space. This will help you know how tall your dancing figure has to be. We will only draw two dancing people, one on the bottom right of the paper and one on the top left, but the second one will be upside down. Drawing the heads of my figures is going to help me understand how tall do I have to make them and how much space do I have for each one of them. Next, we will gonna add the stick body just like we practiced. Remember to make it with movement. Show off your dance moves. Turn your paper upside down and do your second figure. Try to make a different move than you did the first time. Then go ahead and bring your black marker and start tracing all around your stick figure until you have one of those beautiful, fun, and interesting figures that Kid Haring used to draw. Then comes the interesting part where we're going to add lots of movement. We're going to keep tracing out and around the figures with the black marker. It's kind of like a wave of movement that keeps growing. To make sure I don't make this outline too close or too far away from each other, I measure the width with the pencil, and I use the same pencil to make little guides around the figures to help me along the way. Continue doing this with both of your figures until the whole paper has movement lines. Before we start to color, don't forget to add all of the extra pencil lines that you might have had. Finally, we will add color. To have contrast between each of our figures, we will color one of them in their movement ways using only cool colors and the second one using warm colors. Remember the color wheel? Half are warm colors and half are cool colors. Pause the video to make sure you got them right. So for every new line that you color, you will switch the color but keep it on the same family. And that's basically it, my friends. This is such a bright and happy dance party project. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did. I thank you for allowing me in your time and space, and I thank you for creating with me. See you next week with a new project. Bye!